then your options will be very few. There will be no food on the shelves at the stores. The banks will be closed. People will be in panic. It does not take much to create this panic. You do not want to be in this position. You must act before others act. You must prepare before others prepare. You must go on the strength of knowledge within yourself and upon the evidence from the world, and not upon consensus with other people. For when everyone agrees that the great waves of change are upon them, it will be too late to prepare. You must have this strength and this integrity. As was mentioned at the outset, there are two problems in being able to respond to the movement of knowledge. The first is simply the inability to respond because your awareness of knowledge and connection to knowledge are not yet strong enough for you to feel its movement in your life, to receive its messages and to act upon them. The second problem is your obligations and commitments to other people. This represents a broad range of situations. Each is somewhat different from the others. But this brings up great problems for many people who may have a family member who is in great trouble or difficulty, and they feel bound and responsible to provide for this person. So how should this be regarded? What are the guidelines here? How should one proceed? Every situation is somewhat unique, and so the guidelines are very general and very broad, but there are a few things you must know at the outset. In life, your first responsibility is to knowledge, because that is your responsibility to God. That is the responsibility to follow your conscience over your ideas, your beliefs, your compromises with others, over your desire for pleasure and your fear of pain, over your acquisition of wealth and fear of poverty, over everything. It is your first responsibility. Now, for this to become a functional reality for you, it will have to be applied in many situations over time, and that is why you need the time to prepare. You do not want to be standing on the beach when the great waves come. But then there is the problem of dependent relationships. This represents a great variety of situations, but beyond the first guideline that your first responsibility is to knowledge, there are other provisions and circumstances too. It is your responsibility to raise your children to adulthood. You cannot abandon them. You must stay with them. Only in a very extreme situation, if they are highly self-destructive and unmanageable, would you have to part from them. But this would only be in the latter stages of their development, and would only be a real exception to the rule. If you have parents who have no way of supporting themselves, then in certain situations, you will have to provide for them, and that would be a responsibility. This will hold true for many people, of course. Do not think in the future that the government or systems of care will provide for the elderly, and that you will not have any responsibilities here. Many people will have to face this, and this will have to be part of their preparations. Then there are situations where you really must serve another person. You are there to serve them, and you must take care of them. Usually, this involves people who are severely disabled, and you will feel that you have a commitment to them. And though it will be difficult and at times extremely trying, you will know that you must stay with them. It will be clear. Yet in many other cases, the situation is different. If you are in relationship with someone who will not prepare for the great waves of change, or who demeans you in your attempt to do so, you may well have to leave them, and leave them quickly, for they are standing in your way. They are holding you back. They are undermining your progress. They are demeaning you in your relationship with knowledge. Here you will have to cut the cord, letting people go not with hostility, but with the certainty that you cannot move forward together. If you have a spouse or a serious relationship with someone who is mentally disturbed or who is dysfunctional in any way, whether you stay with them or not will be up to knowledge. But you must be prepared to leave them if that becomes necessary to protect yourself, to protect your children, or to protect your aging parents, whatever your responsibilities require. It is inappropriate for you to be dragged down by someone who will not or cannot move forward in life. For many people, this represents their first great threshold because it is such a tremendous impediment, and it is holding up their lives already and has been for perhaps a very long time, so they run into this problem immediately in becoming a student of knowledge. There is this person in my life that I am bound to, but we are not united. We are not together. And we have established a kind of dependency on one another that is unhealthy. You must in most cases break free of these situations. Only if knowledge, the deeper truth within you, makes exception to this should you make exception to this. You cannot move forward if you are held back by others. You cannot get up the mountain if you are staying behind for others, enabling them, supporting them, trying to convince them, persuade them, teach them or change them. You have to break the cord. Life requires it. Knowledge requires it. You know it is true. And it will give you greater strength, it will build your integrity, and it will return self-confidence to you in taking these actions, even if they are very difficult. If others are destined to fail and are committed to this, you must let them fail. You cannot hold them up. You must let them follow their pathway in life. You are not responsible for them. Only if they represent your children or your aged parents is there an exception to this. But even here, sometimes exceptions have to be made in extreme situations. If your first responsibility is to knowledge, then you are free. But freedom must be earned. Freedom must be won. You must overcome the other tendencies in your mind: guilt, obligation, condemnation from others, the need for approval, the need for financial security, the need for social recognition. These now must be overcome as if you were fighting a battle against enemy forces. They must be overcome within yourself. You cannot have everything. You cannot stay where you are and move forward. You cannot win others' approval and follow knowledge within yourself. You may praise God. You may worship God. You may fall down on your knees. You may prostrate yourself at the temple. But if you do not carry out what God has given you to do, then you are not honoring God. You are not valuing God. And you are not fulfilling what God has sent you here to do, which in most cases will be very different from your ideas about your life and your notions of fulfillment and happiness. You must accept that you do not know your greater purpose and give up all attempts at guessing what it might be. It is better to have an open mind and move forward than to entertain great conclusions. The real question in preparing for the great waves is whether you can see them, hear them and feel them, and whether you take the many steps that the preparation may require. Nothing else matters: your political viewpoint, your social standing, your evaluation of yourself, your interests, your hobbies, your friends, your associations, your talents, your skills. If you cannot see, know and respond, none of these things will help you now. You are entering into greatly uncertain times. Things will be changing increasingly, and sometimes in very unpredictable ways. Knowledge is moving you now, but you must respond to knowledge to feel what you must do. This book has provided a series of recommendations. They will take you very far if you can follow them. Beyond this, you must become a student of knowledge, learn the way of knowledge, and follow the power and presence of knowledge within yourself and within others. Yet you must be free to respond to knowledge and to move with knowledge. No idea, no belief, no commitment to others, and no other obligation should stand in the way of this. Perhaps you will think you are being selfish and self-centered, and other people may accuse you of being selfish and self-centered. But if your actions are true, then you are really serving God. You are carrying out the directions that God is providing for you, and you are doing it in such a way that you are not compromising it to meet the needs, expectations or approval of others. Here your freedom to follow the movement of knowledge would be hard-won. Do not think it will be easy, or you will underestimate the opposition, and you will overestimate your promise of success. God has given you the power and presence of knowledge. You may ask God for miracles. You may ask God to save you on your sinking ship. You may pray for all number of things. But if you cannot respond to what God has given you, then really your prayers and your invocations are dishonest. They are born of ignorance, arrogance and foolishness. God will not punish you, but you will place yourself in harm's way, and you will face an ever-diminishing set of options and opportunities. It is to counsel you, to warn you, to encourage you and to prepare you. That is the purpose of the new message. What it is preparing you for is something that is very different from what you have experienced before, and on a greater scale, on a scale that is so great you can hardly imagine. If you think this is just a threat, if you think this is just predicting gloom and doom, then you do not recognize the gift of love that it really is, and you are not yet responsive or responsible to the greater power that resides within you, that God has put there to guide you, to bless you and to prepare you. Now is the time to look, learn, listen and follow. Look at the world. Listen for its signs. Learn what it is teaching you and telling you about what is coming. Begin to prepare your life, to simplify your life, to unburden your life. Everyone can do that right now. Simplify your life. That which is unnecessary, the possessions, the obligations, the ownership, even the relationships that are not essential to you, is only taking energy from you, robbing you of your incentive, distracting you, filling up your time, keeping your eyes off of the world and off your circumstances. You will not see the warning signs before difficult and dangerous things occur if your mind is obsessed with all other things. So at the very outset, there must be simplification and clarification. Your relationship with anything, person or place that is not essential or that is counterproductive will rob you of vision, energy, purpose and meaning. You can begin with your possessions, and then you will have to review your relationships, your activities and your obligations. Free up your time. Free up your energy to begin to prepare for the great waves of change, for they will require tremendous focus and courage from you. So many people are living where they should not live and engaged in what they should not be engaged in. The wealthy are wasting their time and their lives in meaningless pursuits and acquisitions, wasting the great resources that they have that could be of service to the world and to others, giving themselves to their addictions, indulgences and pleasures at the cost of the focus and the meaning of their lives. In many ways, they are more pathetic than the poorer people, for they show the real waste and insolence that humanity has generated for itself in its destruction of the world, in its destruction of its resources, and in its exhaustion of its natural inheritance. You must begin with a deep evaluation, and this evaluation will cover everything in your life.